Hey guys, so today you are going to start the next part of our Castle Mound data, and this is the lab called Will It Burn? So last class, what you guys did is you looked at a bunch of different tree data and we did some tree measuring. So we measured along a transect, we measured DBH of the trees, the height of the trees, as well as the species of the trees. From that information, we can get a lot about forest history. By a lot of the makeup and the species of the tree, we can tell about the ecosystem dynamics in that area, which can indicate if there is fire or if there is not fire present in an area. The next thing that we are going to use is we are going to use water content of our plant material in order to look at how water in the environment actually affects fire. One thing that is different, or a huge difference between wildfires in this part of the United States and wildfires out west, is here we just have a ton more humidity being around the Great Lakes. If, for instance, we look at wildfire regimes in like Nevada and Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, all of those places at elevation have a really, really low humidity. So in the summer, a high humidity day might be somewhere around 25% humidity, which is very, very dry. With all of that dryness, because of the elevation and the altitude that those areas are at, it makes a lot of that land really, really flammable. Whereas here in the summer, a high humidity day might be 80 to 90 or even 100% humidity. So when we have that much moisture in our fuel, it's not going to burn as easily. So that's what you guys are going to be looking at in our lab today. So, in order to start out, what you guys are going to be doing is looking through this data. And this, once again, is from that Castle Mound data. So, you are going to be looking here at a visual comparison of fire events with a climate time series. So, what this is we are looking at over time a bunch of different fire events that happened. The larger circles are going to indicate a larger fire event. This 0 is our baseline. Years below are going to be drier years. Years above are going to be more wet years. So the PDSI is the Palmer Drought Severity Index. So this just shows different severity of droughts. So we can see here that a lot of these larger fire events, so these bigger circles, occur in areas where we have more severe drought events. Okay, so we are going to look at that. So why do you think researchers notice a pattern of 5 or more years average wet conditions followed by a dry year, then causing a fire? So why did they see that? So we had a couple wet years, and then all of a sudden we have like 1 or 2 drought years, and then we have a fire. So why do you think that is? Going through, I would like you guys to read this information. And then here we have some data sets that you are going to be assessing. So right now, I would like you guys to pause the video and then go through, fill out this question up here, read this information, and then with your group, answer these 5 different data sets. Or come up or answer the questions with them. And then we are going to come back to that. So pause the video and then we're going to go over answers afterwards. So hopefully you paused. Welcome back. If you didn't pause the video now. Yay! Okay, welcome back. So looking at all of these, we have our first data set here. So average hourly relative humidity throughout the year. So down here in the Southwest United States, super, super dry, not a lot of humidity. Whereas if we look in Wisconsin, our average humidity throughout the year is about 70 to 75%, pretty moist. So what do we observe about the relative humidity in different parts of the United States? Where are we going to have more fires and more severe fires? Where we have less humidity, because our fuel does not have as much liquid in it. So here for data set 2, this is average Wisconsin well yield by county. So the light colors and the lighter green is not as much well yield, whereas these darker colors, that is going to indicate that there is actually more water in the water table. So we can start to kind of piece together some stuff about Wisconsin. So in the northern part of the state, we have a really, really sandy soil, then it actually doesn't hold a lot of water. Whereas in this part of the state where we live, we actually have more limestone type bedrock that actually holds aquifers. So in this area of the state, we actually have a lot more moisture in the ground, and that can impart moisture into our trees in a drought condition when we have those like underwater water tables and different things like that. So, what do we observe about the well yield in different areas of Wisconsin, and how does that relate to fire ecology? So, in a drought year, when this whole area be under drought, the northern part of the state is going to be impacted way more than the southern part of the state as far as fire, because trees in the southern part, especially right here in the middle, there is more underground water for trees to suck up to keep them a little bit have like more moisture in them, so they're not going to dry out as much during that fire season. So our data set 3, we have different bedrock types in these different parts of the state. So these northern parts of the state, we have igneous rocks and igneous and metamorphic rocks, and this whole southern part of the state is a lot of sedimentary rock. Sedimentary rock holds a ton of water because it's basically like a sponge of a bunch of different like sand and grit and different things like that. So if we kind of overlap this map with this one, we can see that that igneous and metamorphic rock that was there from like way long time ago doesn't hold a lot of water. And that's some of the reason why, because of that bedrock. So this relates to fire ecology because of water availability for the different trees that are existing above these bedrock layers. Igneous metamorphic rock don't hold a lot of water. Sedimentary rock does. So our data set 4, now we're looking underground. So what do we observe about this groundwater system and how it relates to fire ecology? So these trees are going to filter down through this sand and gravel layer. Any aquifers that we have are going to be way, way deep down. And these trees aren't necessarily always going to have roots that are going to reach that far down. However, they're going to keep the sand and gravel layer above them maybe a little bit more wet. We also call this layer that the aquifer hits at the water table. So in this area of the state, our water table is actually very, very high. For example, the farm I grew up on, I vividly remember planting trees with my dad, and we dug down like 2 or 3 feet, and the hole started to fill with water because our water table was so high. So when our water table is that high, trees are able to get tons and tons of water just from the ground, and we don't have to water them. Or even in a drought condition, they're going to be able to pull water from that underground layer. All right, so for our last one here as well, we have some different soil types. So here we have the volume of water content and the metric suction. So how much sucking does it take for a tree to actually get the water out of the soil? So with sandy soil, it doesn't hold a lot of water, and it doesn't take a lot of suction to get that water out from those trees. So trees are able to get water out of sandy soil, but it can't hold a lot. Silty soil, it can hold a little bit more, and it takes a little bit more suction for those trees to get the water out. And then we have clay soil. So up here with this clay soil, holds a ton more water, but it takes a ton of suction to get that water out. So it actually holds water for longer in the season. So down here, if we look at these different soil regions of Wisconsin, the up north part, once again, is silt and sand, igneous rocks, not a lot of wells. So they just don't have a lot of water. Whereas this region we're in is silt and silt clay kind of in this middle area. And it makes sense when we look at this different map. So this area would be kind of that silt clay. It's easy to get water out and it holds more water. And our area is a lot of silt, so it holds a little bit more water as well. So think about how that relates to fire ecology. So, with that information, what you are going to do in your group now is write a claim that answers this question and jot one piece of data from each one of those data sets and then put them all together in a concise reasoning. So, our big question is, how does relative humidity and groundwater affect fire ecology in different areas of Wisconsin? So, work together with your group and pull all of this information together. In this lab, this chunk of info I will be grading. Okay, so make sure that you are filling this out appropriately. When you are done with that, what I would like for you guys and gals to do is read through this lab procedure. And what you are going to do is I have some clippers in the back as well as paint cans. What you are going to do is you are going to go outside and fill your paint can, one with tree litter and little branches from around a conifer, so a coniferous tree. So any one of the pine trees or cedar trees that are outside. And then each group is going to do one from a deciduous tree. So any tree that no longer has leaves on it. Please be sure to find a tree that is living, so not like a dead ash tree. And you are going to take leaves and sticks from the base of that tree and also a couple little trimmings of sticks and buds and things like that from the trees as well. And you are going to fill each of your paint cans about half full of that matter. Then what you are going to do is bring those back inside and you are going to fill up some little bags. Here it says leave from the paint cans, but I have 2 sections of this class, so I can't do that. You are going to fill them up and then you are going to weigh them. Okay, so you're going to label them with your weight and today. And then what you are going to do is you are going to put those in the fume hood and we're going to leave them there overnight with the hood on to circulate air so they can dry out a little bit. So with that, we are going to be able to see how much moisture they actually lose in one day of sitting out to see how much moisture is in these different fuels. So we are also going to measure the relative humidity, cloud cover, and temperature of the day today. This relative humidity you can find online. Okay. For your plant species, you are going to put if it's either a conifer or a deciduous tree. And then these analysis questions we are going to do next class after we weigh our samples again. So hope that all makes sense. Get to work. Make sure that you are reading the instructions.